Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the second movie in our Japanese ghost story sort of week. And tonight we're looking at one called The Snow Woman. Again, this is a Radiance release and it's another sort of classic Japanese ghost story from their sort of folklore. And this tells the story of a woman called Yuki, and she. Well, let's start from the beginning. We see a sculptor. What's his name in the film? Oh dear, I'm terrible with names. I really am. But anyway, we see a sculptor with his master climbing up this sort of mountain. It's all full of snow and everything. And they're looking for this ancient tree because there's a lord in their local town who wants a sculpture for his palace made out of this tree, out of the wood of this tree. And they finally come across this ancient tree that they've been searching for a long, long time. And sorry about my mate there at the back. And they come across him and they decide they're going to cut it down. So, but then the snowstorm comes in, a big blizzard, and so they need to find shelter for the night, and they find this old hut up there. So they go in there and sort of settle down for the night. And the master says this is going to be his last great work, sort of thing, that he's ever going to do, this statue. And as they're resting and sleeping, our Snow Woman makes an appearance, and she's sort of, we see a ghostly figure in the snowstorm sort of approaching the hut, and then she comes into the hut and opens the door, and our apprentice wakes up and he can see it and he's terrified. He can see her in the doorway, and then she comes in like a real sort of ghostly figure. When you see this, you think this must have influenced things like The Ring and stuff like that, because it's got that sort of spooky look to her. Anyway, the folklore story is anybody that sees this Snow Woman will die instantly if they see her. So she comes in and she goes over to the old master and she freezes the room and she freezes him and he dies. And she puts out the fire. And then she sees our apprentice, but sees that he's quite a young man. And I think she sort of like feels attracted to him. And she talks to him. And she says she will spare his life as he's so young. But he has to make one promise. He has to promise never to speak of what happened about seeing her or anything like that. If he does, she will come and kill him, his family, his wife, and etc. Anyway, then she then goes and disappears, and then the film sort of starts, and we see our apprentice waking up with a nightmare in the middle of the night, and he lives with I think, I'm not sure if it's his grandmother or just some old lady that he knows, and he lives in the hut with her, and he's started to prepare a sculpture for this lord, and they finally arrive with this tree, and they've cut like a massive part, and they've given it to him to do it. His name's something like Yakukuza. I don't know his name. I'm not going to even attempt it. But he is going to make this sculpture, and then there's a big rain kicks off one night, and there's a young lady sort of in their house area under the shelter getting out of the rain, and he sees her at the window and says hello, and it's a woman called Yuki, and she says she's just sheltering from the rain, hope he doesn't mind. He said no problem, and as soon as they set the eyes on each other, there's some sort of a spark going on, and the old lady sees her outside and invites her in to dry off, and gives her some clothes and stuff like this and some warm drink. They start talking and all this, and there's some sort of feeling going on between our apprentice and Yuki. Anyway, she stays the night. The old woman insists that she stays the night because the weather's so bad. And so she stays the night, but the old lady gets taken ill during the night. And Yuki stays with her and helping her get better, sort of thing. And then the next day, we see like the local sort of school, and we see these, I don't know if they're samurais or troops or whatever, on horseback, riding towards the little town with a different lord. This one is our evil lord, if you like. And he turns up, and his kids are playing around out school and on these logs, and they fall down and make him fall off his horse. And he starts to whip the kids. And then the old lady who lives in the house, she goes over to them to stop, and they start whipping her really bad. And then obviously our apprentice and Yuki's sister, they run out to her defence. And this evil lord sees the woman and straight away takes a shine to her, and they stare at each other for a little bit, and that makes them go off and leave them alone, sort of thing. And Yuki and the apprentice take the old woman back in the house, and she is in her last leg. She's going to die. She's been beaten so bad. And she talks to them and makes Yuki promise to marry our apprentice. And she agrees straight away that, as long as he will have me. So these two get married and sort of settled down, and they have a little boy called Tara. And so they've got a little boy now, and he's like about 4 or 5. He still hasn't started this statue yet, because apparently it takes 4 or 5 years for this wood to completely dry out for it to be done to be a sculpture. And the lord that he's doing it for is being visited by this other lord, saying that they got a really good statue maker that can do it for them. And this guy was like, no, I've promised it for the apprentice to do. He says, well, he's better than the apprentice. I'll tell you what, let them both do it and you can choose which one. So they decide to do both and all this sort of thing. And then they start trying to blackmail the apprentice and Yuki for money and stuff like that, putting the pressure on them. And all this stuff comes around, and they go to this festival one night where there's this sort of like shaman like woman doing these sort of prayers for them all to pray, and she sees Yuki and starts staring at her, and sort of like all these weird things going on, and it sort of unfolds like this, and it turns out that Yuki is the Snow Woman in a human form. She's obviously fell in love with him, and she's gone and she wants this happiness, and she's discovered happiness. And the film progresses down with our apprentice building this statue. I can't just finalise it. He can't get it right. He can't get the eyes right. We've got the evil lord still obsessing over Yuki and trying to get his way. And one night he tries to, and Yuki turns into her Snow Woman form and ends up killing him and his troops and stuff like this. And the film sort of unfolds. I won't go through to the ending because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's quite a downbeat and depressing sort of ending. But what an incredible film. Absolutely amazing. This has got to be one of the best Japanese horror films I think I've seen. No, without a question of a doubt. Yes, the last one was like a samurai melodrama. This one is like a bit of a love story, but it involves with the horror element, and it's so well made. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm scoring this an essential watch, and I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. To me, it's that good. It's absolutely fantastic. I sat down and I absolutely enjoyed every minute of this film. It was such a great film. And there's the apprentice and his Yuki, and there's our Snow Woman. The only thing I think they should have called it the Snow Queen rather than the Snow Woman. But there we are. But absolutely fantastic. The pluses of the film. This Blu-ray is stunning. It looks absolutely magnificent. Again, this is an old like 60s sort of film, and it's absolutely stunning. and I absolutely loved it. The acting is fantastic. The characters are completely believable. They're really well acted film. It's really, really cool. The effects of the Snow Woman are absolutely amazing. They're so cool. She looks so good and so evil. Um, Yet so beautiful, and sort of like you can't take your eyes off her. She's almost like the Japanese version of a Gorgon, you know, with the snakes. If you stare at her, they turn to stone. If you stare at her, she turns you to ice. So it's got that little like element to it from that mythology. And this is the Japanese version, and it's filmed in a beautiful area. There is outside shots on this and studio shots. It looks fantastic. Photography is amazing. The music is an absolute bonus to the film because it's fantastic, and the story is really creepy and it's quite eerie. It's not scary or anything, it's just eerie, and you just praying for this family to sort of like, you know, get through it all. And it's absolutely fantastic. I was absolutely glued to this film. Absolutely fantastic. The only negative about it was the little baby, Tara. When he cried, it just like, oh, shut up. And like, well, there's one bit he kept shouting for his mum. She's like, oh mate, just shut up. You know, that's the only negative about the whole film. But it's an absolute blinding of a watch. The Snow Woman, 10 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down in the comments. You might not have, because it's quite an obscure Japanese title, but not in Japan. This is a real popular sort of Japanese ghost story, and it's been made into a film. I believe there's different versions of it. It's, you know, been made throughout the years, but the set I've got, this is the version that I've got in it. And it's absolutely wonderful. Radiance have done a great thing. Now, the negative about the Radiance release is the special features. Once again, it's a minimum. There's a couple of interviews for about 7 or 8 minutes each, and that's it. It would have been nice to have had a bit more in depth, maybe a proper essay about the history of this folklore story. That would have been fantastic. They could have done something along that line, you know, found out more of the history behind this sort of folklore. A bit like the other one that we did last night. That's another famous Japanese ghost story. And the last one that we're going to do this week is also a famous one. But this is absolutely my favourite so far. Absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to watch it again. Guys, till our next video, please check out some more horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzoel. I'm Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, and Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and of course, The Maniac. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.